Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about car deal negotiation because there's a lot of videos on YouTube talking about this topic, and well, some of them are good and some of them are absolutely horrible. And so I'm going to give you guys my take on negotiation as someone who worked as a car salesman and also happens to buy a new car every few months, and so obviously I have to know a thing or two about negotiation. But before we get in this video, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And if you want to see more content just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post these videos every single day. Let's get into it. So there is two main negotiation styles that I hear talked about on YouTube, and let's first dive into those, and then we will go over the quote-unquote Ben Hardy negotiation style. So the first style is that you need to bring a big laptop into the dealership that has all of your research on where the car should be priced, and you have to show this research to the dealer to convince them to lower the price on their car. And this is going to be a process that'll take several hours of back and forth negotiation, but it'll be worth it because you'll save thousands of dollars on your car purchase, and that'll be making hundreds of dollars per hour technically because, again, it's in process, it's going to take several hours. Or what I'll also hear people advise you to do is to basically create an email template that you'll send to a bunch of different dealers that have the car that you're looking for, and this template will essentially be something that'll be asking them for their best price. And there are places that'll literally sell you email templates to send to dealerships to negotiate back and forth and get the best price, and you're basically going to be pitting the dealerships against each other, and this is how you are in turn going to get the best price. So breaking down the first negotiation style, where you basically bring in a laptop full of all of your research and you negotiate with the dealer for several hours. Well, first off, yes, you should do a bunch of research. This is very important so you know exactly what car you should purchase and how much you should purchase it for. But you don't need to bring a laptop with a full spreadsheet. You just have to have the information, because guess what? The dealers have that information. They know exactly how much they're into that car for. And so if you basically give them an offer that is reasonable, again, within the range of what they would be into that car for, then it's a pretty simple process. It doesn't need to be this sit down with your laptop and your fancy spreadsheets over the course of 4 hours to negotiate a car deal. It's as simple as looking up the information. If it's a new car, finding the invoice on that car and giving the dealership an offer, maybe at invoice if you think that's reasonable, or maybe you think that under invoice is reasonable. Whatever you think is within reason to where a dealership would accept it. And then on a used car, right? If wholesale value is a certain amount, you have to understand that dealers have to spend some money into reconditioning and everything, but maybe you feel like offering wholesale on a car is reasonable. Whatever you think is within reason, you offer that to the dealership, and that's something that doesn't need to take hours. It's something that frankly could just take a few minutes. You could say, hey, I understand you have this car posted for this amount, but the invoice price on your vehicle is this amount, and so I will buy today if you give me that price. Or if it's a used car, your used car is priced at this amount, the wholesale value is this much, and I will offer you this much, I'll buy the car today. It's literally that simple. It doesn't have to be hours of back and forth negotiation to get that deal. It's you make the offer and the dealer either says yes or no, and if you're dead set on buying the car, then yeah, you can continue to push. But if you want to get the best possible deal, then what you can do is just say, hey, fair enough. If you guys are ever willing to get somewhere close to that number, then let me know and you leave. Like, it is that simple. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. It doesn't have to take hours. You don't have to spend hours to get thousands off of a price. You can just make your offer, leave, and then chances are the dealership will send a manager running after you, or they'll give you a call and say, hey, great news, I can do this amount, and then you can decide if that amount is reasonable or not. And then when it comes to the email template style of buying a car, I can tell you that this will get you a good deal, but it won't get you the best possible deal on a car, because again, yeah, you are going to be kind of pitting the dealers against each other to earn your business. But I can tell you that whenever I got these email templates when I worked as a salesman, I wasn't giving those people like the best possible price that they could get, because that's not what dealerships have in their protocol. The protocol is to give that customer what the online price is on the car, maybe give them, a little bit off of the online price because it's, supposed to be like a special offer just for them. But these customers never got the best possible deal on a car because they were not at the dealership. Until a customer is at the dealership and the dealership can see that person's like serious to buy that day, right in front of them, they're never going to give them the best possible deal. So this is great to give you, I guess, a ballpark idea of where you will be when it comes to pricing on a car. But I wouldn't like fully buy a car with this method because you're leaving money on the table. So then what is the quote unquote Ben Hardy style of negotiating with a car deal? First off, like I said earlier in the video, do your research. Research is the most important thing when it comes to purchasing a car. You need to know how much a dealership paid for a car, whether it's new or used. So on used cars, you got to know your wholesale values, and on new cars, you got to know invoices, and you got to know if there is anything on top of that, because with some manufacturers, invoice price, that's it. Like there's nothing else left on the bone. But some manufacturers will also give dealers holdback that is pretty substantial. That is basically pricing below invoice, to where, yeah, you might want to negotiate that as well, because then you could potentially get, several hundred, and sometimes in some cases several thousand, depends on the car, depends on the manufacturer. So you just need to know your prices. This information at this point is so readily available online that anyone can find it as long as they are willing to look. And then when it comes to the negotiation, I don't really call it negotiation. It's as simple as just telling the dealership where you want to be, and then just be willing to walk out. It's that simple. If they're not willing to be at the price range that you want to be at, then you've got 2 feet. Walk out and then go to another dealer and make the same exact offer. And some of you might be frustrated with this because maybe the dealers just don't take your offer. And then at that point, it could be one of 2 things. Your offer could be just way too crazy. It's not within the realm of what those dealers deem as reasonable. Or maybe you're just working with the wrong dealers and you need to just continue to look until you find a dealer that is willing to meet that offer. At this point, I know that some of you might say, well, Ben, I don't have enough time to go into several dealers and give them offers in person. And hey, fair enough. What you should at least do in this case is not email the dealership. Actually call the dealership, just something where you have a little bit more contact with the dealer that's a little bit more personal, because the less personal that your contact is with the dealer, the less personal the answer is going to be from the dealer, and the less likely that they are to give you the best possible deal. Again, if a dealer feels like they're working with an actual human being, they're going to be more willing to work for you. But if they feel like they're working with some email robot, then, well, good luck with that. So now you've found a dealer that's willing to give you a deal that is within the range that you think is reasonable based on the research that you've done. If you plan on purchasing more vehicles from the brand that dealership represents, build a relationship with this dealership, even if it's a dealership that is not local to your area, because your local dealerships maybe suck and you had to go out of your area to buy this car. If it's close enough to where you can, service the vehicle, like if it's a reasonable enough distance, do that. This is something that I did with my Ford vehicles. I used to live up in Salt Lake County. If you guys aren't familiar with Utah, Salt Lake County is kind of the county where everyone lives. And the dealership that I purchased from, the Ford in Provo, is in the county that's south of where I lived. And so whenever I serviced any of my Ford vehicles, I would drive almost an hour to the Ford dealership every single time. And again, it goes along with building that relationship so that you can get better deals in the future. Because if you are a reoccurring customer for a dealership, they're going to be more likely to help you out and offer you deals that they're not going to offer to the customer that is reaching out to them for the first time. Now, obviously, if you're just doing a one-off purchase where you're going to purchase from a brand just one time and that's it, then yeah, you're going to want to just go back to the other advice where you're going to want to basically do a bunch of research, give dealers your offers, and then just rinse and repeat every single time you purchase a car, which frankly is really frustrating. But you know what? If you want to brand hop, then that's what you're going to have to do. So pulling everything together, negotiating a car deal does not have to be a marathon. It's something that can actually be very quick. I mean, it can literally take as little as like 5 to 10 minutes. And this is really important because if you sit down at a dealership and negotiate a car deal for 4 hours, I promise you, you will leave with a car because you've invested so much time into that car deal that you're going to come up on your price because you're like, yep, too much time spent into this. I got to leave with something. And you know what? That's what dealerships want sometimes. But what you also have to understand is that dealerships are run by people and people are people. And so the easier you make something for a person, then the better the outcome is going to be. And so if you just tell a dealership upfront where you want to be based on the research that you've done, then the worst they can tell you is no. And if they tell you no, then you just leave. And like I said earlier in the video, maybe they'll send a manager running after you. Maybe they'll call you later and say, hey, actually, we can do that deal. But that's it. Like, that's all you have to do. There is no need to do anything else. And this is exactly what I implement when I purchase cars. I just tell dealerships where I want to be. And if they're not where I want to be, then it's like, hey, no hard feelings. I'm just going to move on from this car deal. And if you're ever willing to come to that price, then let me know. And I can tell you 9 times out of 10, what happens is, maybe a few days from that point or maybe a week from that point, that deal ends up somehow magically coming true. And so it makes the car buying experience so much easier. Like, I really enjoy purchasing cars, and that's probably why I purchase so many cars, because of how I implement my quote unquote negotiation tactics, which aren't really negotiation. It's just telling a dealership where you want to be. So that's going to sum things up. Hopefully that helps you guys out, and I'll see you.